Well, good afternoon, everyone. We're back, Ryan, number 96.
Yes.
We snuck in an extra one this week.
Yeah, bonus episode earlier this week. And here we are, episode 96. And
you got a guest.
We've got more guests than we've ever had on the show.
Yeah.
We've got quite an audience on that.
Bit of a record, yeah. But Kevin Brown is with us in the studio. Kev, anyone that's on LinkedIn and anyone that aviates in the greater African area, if they don't know your name by now, they probably should. So, Kev, yeah, thanks for joining us, and we're going to introduce your team shortly. But first off, welcome, Kev.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the invite.
Enjoying it so far?
Very much so. A bit intimidating, but we'll get through it, I'm sure.
No, awesome. Well, fantastic to have you here. It's been a long time coming, and yeah, it's actually when you came to meet me at the center was about 3 weeks ago, so a couple of weeks ago. And I said to Ryan afterwards, hey, man, you've got to meet Kev. He's such a good oak. What a hell of a good oak. So, yeah, it really is cool to have you here. But, we've got the Easy Pilot team here. Now, just a bit of background. If you're like Ryan and myself, sort of late 30s going into the 40s, and no doubt you have looked at various options for your career. I mean, Ryan, how do we call it? In South Africa at the moment, if you want to stay here, you're very limited in what you can actually do.
Yeah.
Career Airlines, South African Airways, Airlink, Safair, Lyft, Global are there. Seme is doing the right thing. It's still a very, very small number. So what do? You look at various options. What can we do? And inevitably, it boils down to if you want opportunity, you may need to look elsewhere. And this is where having an EASA license comes into play. It's just an absolute no-brainer. If you are looking at progressing in your career and you're not looking in that direction right now, then maybe you need a bit of a kick up the arse, so to speak. But guys, before we go any further, Remus, Andras, and Matyas are welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. And I'll shoot the first not question, but Matyas, maybe you can introduce yourself and your team. Welcome on the Bryan Air Podcast.
Thank you for having us. So just a bit of background to Easy Pilot. We have a staff of 15 members who are very enthusiastic and professional. A few words about ourselves. Let's start with Andras. Andras grew up in a pilot family, so I think he was ready for his PPL when he started walking. He's a captain with a massive flight experience, used to run the biggest flight school in Hungary, and later, most important, he was my instructor. A few words about Remus. Remus is an enthusiastic CPL pilot too, and a business professional. He has a long international business experience and leads the international operations of the company. And maybe a few words about myself. I'm a CPL pilot too. I got through my trainings, got my licenses, and also worked as a flight instructor and as an ATP theory instructor for years. I also collected 15 years experience in the corporate world. And actually, South Africa is very close to my heart. It's just a bit of personal background, as my stepfather used to work for the Tshwane University in Pretoria as a professor of polymer engineering for 5 years. I spent a lot of time in South Africa, and I love the wonderful country.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
That's pretty awesome, eh? So you've got ties to South Africa from early on. That's pretty awesome.
Remus, maybe Remus immediately strikes me as someone that would fit in very well on the show because he's actually drinking a nice glass of wine. It's kind of that fits in very much
an advantage. If I knew that.
Yeah, people wonder why Ryan and I we're very crisp at the beginning of a show, but towards the end of a show, we start slurring our words a little bit. But Remus, over to you, man. I've heard very good things from Kev, and it's nice to see the face.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us here. I will keep this very short. The definition for the company here goes to globalization, actually, because we talk about a Hungarian company run by one guy that stays in Greece, one guy stays in Florida in United States. I live in Romania. The exams will be in South Africa. We had an office in Emirates. So everything it's about being independent, actually, and have the entire flexibility to do your job whatever you want, whenever you want. Even if you are in Europe, you can do your job in United States and vice versa, or in South Africa and vice versa. I just want to point out from the very first beginning the importance of the Romanian authority. Actually, they were the official part and the very official part of this huge enterprise that we do here. They have the authority to represent EASA, and through them, with the help of the general director, Mr. Stoica, and some other director from the staff, for exam staff and technical staff, we were able to provide these exams, EASA-approved exam through Romanian authority anywhere in the world. And now we talk about South Africa. That was the first exam, professional exam made outside EASA community or European community. So I don't know if you understand how huge this thing is. It's close to a miracle. And if we took into consideration the time took to put everything head to head, that was a huge success for the entire team. And I say again, it's a team effort. And Kevin here, it's top of the top in my book, of course, with the rest of the team.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Kev is definitely a top bloke. I think we'll hear more from him later. Andras, over to you. You can't but look cool if you're in Greece. Chilling back there.
Look how he's sitting.
I mean, you can't but look relaxed. So, typical, like he's on a Greek beach there having a nice cocktail. But welcome, Andras. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you very much. So Greece is not the place for stressful people. That's what I realized as well. They just have a good solution for everything, which is let's make it tomorrow. And that solves most of the problem for them. Let me start with your show for a few words, because I didn't know about you guys. And I made a little bit of background search. I checked out your videos and stuff. And I have to tell you that's amazing. Really, congratulations. I've never seen something like this before in terms of aviation, because so many good podcasts are there. But something specialized for aviation in such a high quality, that's really good job, guys. Thank you. And thank you for having us here, because that's what we need now. We need to prove the people, especially in South Africa, that it's not fake. And a show like yours, I think, is the best tool for this. So thank you again.
No, thanks, Andras. And exactly that, Kev. I mean, let's jump into it right now. There was a question that popped up on Facebook a week and a half ago.
I went cold.
Yeah, I can imagine. The question was, is this real?
That was the question. I knew it was coming. I just didn't know when.
But you had your ducks in order.
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
and you answered the question. I mean, people, they jumped there and stood up for you. People that have actually done this through your organization, so straight away there was a lot of credibility that even came from that message itself. So, yeah, I mean,
all right. So that particular website, I think that's the Chuck Norris of of commenting in South Africa, and I knew that it was going to get onto that particular website at some stage, and when it did, I think it's a testament to the way that we've done things, and with this team, and the professionalism of the guys that have come.
Yep.
That we pulled off a tremendously successful couple of rides, and with that came the credibility. And obviously, one of the biggest questions we ever had to field was, "Is this real?" And that, I think, put it all to bed right there.
But it's one thing to be able to answer that question now. How did you convince the original guys? Because I mean, let's face it. For years, we know how difficult it is. I mean, we've had colleagues that have flown across to the UK. They've spent a fortune staying in hotels, catching buses to places to go and write. Absolute nightmare. Some of the guys don't even pass, and then you've wasted this money and you've got nothing to show for it. I mean, you must have convinced how did you convince the original guys? Come write an exam here. Come write the EASA with us.
So let's take a few steps back. Many years ago, I met a certain gentleman by the name of Andras, and what I did is I phoned in and I spoke to a lady by the name of Blanca, and I said, I want to do my EASA. Exactly like the way you started the show. This is how we all want to try and get forward, and get ourselves, a different license. Mm-hmm. And she said to me, don't worry, this gentleman by the name of Andras will call you. He did. He called me. And one day he said to me, why don't we try and do these exams in South Africa? And that was a 2-year, and according to Remus, it was exactly 2 years and 1 day. We got it right to write it. And then I had my doubts, I must admit. Writing EASA in South Africa, we gave up at one stage. A week later, Andras phoned me and he said, Kev, you won't believe it. I'm so excited. I'm going to open a bottle of champagne. We've got it right. We were waiting for one signature, just one. And the persistence of these guys was enormous. And I think that night as well, I finished a bottle of wine. We were so happy. And then it was the great task. Myself and this team around me was, where to from now, and how do we do this? And we all edged towards a certain goal. And then, of course, I started to advertise. I was very cautious with advertising because you're obviously taking people's money.
Yeah.
And we were all faced with a very a terrible crisis in that COVID hit, and a lot of us were retrenched from a certain airline. And a lot of my colleagues said, where to from now? And they phoned me and they said, listen, guys, I said, I'm going to go for it. And they had a bit of faith. And fortunately, I managed to rally up a couple of my colleagues. Okay. And they gave it quite a lot of credibility as well. There were some good names there. And we had our first successful write, which I think was 18 people. And from there it went. It went like wildfire, yeah.
That's awesome. I love how you guys have come about this. And I mean, just to comment on where the question, like, is this real, probably came from, was probably initially like a bit of disbelief. Like, have you guys really managed to pull this off in South Africa?
Well, think about the poor chap that's just spent $250,000. He's just found out his mate is doing it at a fraction of the price.
I mean, you guys sort of did it with a bit of stealth as well, because there was not really even any rumors about this. It was like all of a sudden, hey guys, you can do your EASA exams in South Africa.
That's what I liked about the whole thing. I mean, I'd heard about it, but you didn't really sort of know what was happening. Then Kev's name pops up, and why I really appreciate the three other gentlemen joining us here today is because, I mean, I sent Kev a message to say, hey, we must get together. I think there's some synergy there that we can work on, not only with the podcast, but possibly at Sim Aero as well going forward. And straight away Kev got back to me, and he passed the message on to his colleagues there, and here we are today. So it's obviously clearly a dynamic group, and our intention here today is to basically show our network who these guys are, They are real. It is happening. You've already had success on the course, Kev. It's not a case of we need to see if this actually works. And man, the scope for the future is getting wider. And I really, really, wish you guys the best, because this is, I think, one of the best things for any young aviator growing up right now in, let's say, South Africa.
So I had a colleague, he was originally going to write with us, and then he decided to take another route, and he went off to Hungary, and I think it cost him 52,000 Rand, and he wrote 5 subjects, he passed 3. That's very expensive in my book. You know?
At least he discovered Budapest, which is important.
Yeah. and unfortunately, that was the reality that we all faced before this happens. Now, you wake up in the morning, you pet your own dog, you say goodbye to your wife, you walk out the door, you arrive you meet similar people on the steps of where we write the exams. You have a cup of coffee, you walk in a friendly environment, you meet Remus. That's very important. And then and the whole thing is just conducive to passing. And Remus, if I'm not mistaken, they're quite impressed with the pass rate.
Yeah, actually, it's one of the best pass rate. And because we talk about trust and everything, I want to give you an inside information. Maybe 10 or so people knows by now. To give the 110% credibility of this exam, we are in the middle to solve a thing for the Romanian CA director. Mr. Stoica will be himself in South Africa next month. So I think if anybody had any doubt, by the end of next month will be history, that doubt. So it will be 110% official. And the feedback here back home in Romania, in the authority, the feedback, it's amazing. Actually, everybody wants to be involved in this project. Of course, there is the bureaucracy and everything, but the mainstream is that they want to be involved because they realize the importance and the significance of this on this event. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And many thanks to the Romanian authority, because I think it's not a secret that we visited a few authorities back, a few EASA authorities.
Not a few.
It was very diplomatic.
Sorry to interrupt, but it's important. We literally had a list of all the authorities out there, and we went one by one, and finally the man of solution was Remus.
And it was, the authority, the Romanian authority, they were very professional, sticking to the rules, but in the same time, they were progressive, open-minded, modern, and very proactive. And I think many thanks to the authority here.
The misconception, I think, is Romanian authorities coming to South Africa. If you went to Romania and you went to go and write that exam in Romania, you'll be treated exactly the same as you're going to be treated in South Africa.
Yeah.
There are cameras everywhere. There's an invigilator walking around. The gentleman that comes, they are very, very professional. There's no shortcuts. They do it well. They do it professionally. And I think that gives it a lot of credibility as well.
So what you're saying is it's not like it's not a watered down version here in South Africa.
No, I think you must work.
Yeah. But you did mention something important. I mean, one of the key things, okay, fine, there's obviously a cost element involved, and it certainly would be cheaper to stay in your home country and write the exams. But the other thing, Kev, I mean, you said, you pet your dog, kiss your wife goodbye, and you drive down literally to go and write these exams. That's massive. I mean, you want to arrive with a clear mind. You don't want to be stressing. You made the comment when we chatted last. I mean, some guys writing there in Europe, they're looking at their watch because they know that they've got to catch the number 5 bus back to, the hotel. And that stuff you do not want to be dealing with when you're writing difficult exam.
And nobody wants to pay three euros for a beer. It's just, that's criminal.
That is that. Yeah.
I don't know. It depends on how much you love beer. I would pay 5.
But only once.
Yeah, but as you mentioned, it's not only about costs, but it's about chances, I think. So ATP theory exams are really hard to pass. And if you have to deal with all these other things, the environment and so on, then your chances will be lower. So here you have to max out your chances, and this is actually the fair chances what you should get here.
I have a question then. We talk about the pass rate being fairly high. Do you think that's a contributing factor, the fact that when the guys are writing the exams in a less stressed sort of mindset, they're not worried about the finances that they've had to fork out for this exercise? That's probably
it's a major thing, right?
Major factor.
It's a major factor.
That's for sure.
We have a direct comparison, actually. We have analytics for that. So that actually improved the pass rate. So the pass rate is much better now than when the students actually travel to Europe to do that. So we have the experience for that in the years.
Well, if we look at
have a good database, let's mention that as well, because it's one of the most important factors, that if you try to keep up with the requirements, then all clients will get something similar to the original exam. And that's a key factor, because you can start to learn the Oxford book, which is this thick, one of them, and there are 13 of them. Probably by the time you finish with 2 subjects, you start to forget the first one, the beginning of the first. We're talking about 13. So the tools that we provide, I think it's a key factor here.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And if you look at the cost of writing 5 exams, 52,000 Rand, what it costs to write all 13 or 14 of them in South Africa,
Oh, man.
it's a no-brainer.
No-brainer.
It's a no-brainer.
And I still go back to this whole thing about isn't this such a wonderful thing for South African aviation? And how long is it before you get youngsters growing up here wanting to learn how to fly that can actually, go and bypass the whole ICAO SACA thing entirely? I mean, it's probably not that far away. But for right now, Kevin, I mean, you would know this. Our network that we've been quite, tight with over the last couple of years, particularly because of COVID, a lot of these guys have been retrenched. So it's so nice to have this little opportunity coming up. Sure, there's still work involved. There's a lot still to be done, but it's a massive thing. And I think, tap on the back to all you guys for bringing this opportunity to South Africa. We need opportunities in South Africa. Something like this comes along, you got to make the most of it, man.
So we signed up a gentleman the other day. He left one of the other mainstream airlines. That's also a little bit cash strapped, and then he got into fly. I think it was Fly Dubai.
Okay.
He was in their holding pool, and at the last minute, they slammed the door in his face and they said, "No more. You can't come." The first thing he turned to was the EASA exams. That was his next safety net. Because with the EASA exams under his belt, he can go to Europe because he's got a European passport.
Yep.
But he doesn't have the money, because he was retrenched, to go and spend that amount of time in Europe to pass them there. It'll cost him 200,000-300,000 Rand.
Yep.
So it's not really about the money, it's about the convenience, big time, but the money does play a big role.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh,
Did you know that it's not only the European airlines requiring EASA anymore, but all the new airlines who are starting up just now, let's say, and they have to choose a standard. Most of them, they just go, okay, EASA. That sounds professional. That's a good image for the company. So regardless of the location, EASA is very valuable. What I see.
What we need to mention as well is that our CAA, our exams are aligned with EASA. The only difference is your weather moves in a different direction in Europe. So instead of east to west or west to east, you just got to learn the intricacies. So if you've got a South African ATPL and you climb into the EASA books, the knowledge is there.
Okay.
So you basically have to brush it up.
Yeah. Well, that's nice to hear.
Yeah,
You gotta
it's a bit of
tackle
a
it, right?
relief. Yeah, yeah. Look, I mean, it goes without saying that you mentioned it earlier as well, Kev. That you got to work.
You got to work.
Isn't that true for anything? I mean, you want something, you've got to put in
work for it. But you put in the graft and spend the money, go and do it. Then you you give yourself that extra bit of opportunity, which is awesome. I think maybe I'll take this opportunity to just thank you guys, the whole team, in fact, on behalf of South African aviators, for actually pioneering and sticking through this and getting it done.
Yeah.
Because
Sticking through being the operative word. How
You
often
know-
do these things fall over at the last hurdle?
in an industry where we faced usually with so much red tape and bureaucracy, and things are normally made more difficult, it's a bit of a breath of fresh air now that something's been made easier.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Kev, maybe I'll throw it at you now. What the hell's the process? So I'm a South African. I've got an ATP. Maybe I even have a European passport. And now you're looking at this this whole EASA exams thing. Where must I look? Where must I go? Where can I get a bit more gen?
Okay, so if you go into the Easy Pilot website, it talks immediately about an easy conversion. I think we've ironed that out.
Yeah.
If you've got an ATPL, a South African ATPL, if I'm not mistaken, gentlemen, an FAA ATPL, any ATPL, it's an easy conversion to start the process to write an EASA ATPL.
Okay.
Obviously, you still have to work. The subjects are still there. The course content is still there. But if you were going from a commercial pilot's license to a frozen ATPL, that's different. You have to do a ground school.
Okay.
And that involves a little bit extra.
Sure.
Whereas if you've got an ATPL, you simply send me your ATPL license. You send me a proof of your address, and we send it to Europe.
Yeah.
Europe then has a look at it. They find you credible. They send you an online contract, a DigiSign online contract with the terms and conditions. You, in the comfort of your own home, you read that online contract. If you like it, if you don't like it, you're welcome to come back to us and say, listen, I don't like clause 2.3. We discuss it with you. We change it if we have to. We're very open with that. Once you've signed the contract, you're on the system. You pay your money. There's another form that comes. A lady by the name of Blanca or her team will get hold of you. They'll send you a form. That form is the form that's the official form for the CAA, the Romanian CAA. You fill in your hours, your license expiry dates, all that kind of stuff. When you arrive at the venue, it's as simple as that, guys. When you arrive at the venue, you get issued a terms and conditions for the exam so that you kind of know exactly what's going to happen. And on there is your unique username and password. You sit yourself down in front of a computer, you type it in, 14 subjects appear in front of you, you choose that subject, you write it, you push enter when you finish writing it, and within a couple of seconds later, you get your results, whether you passed or not. That then lives there. So you'll have a little green pass. When you write, you can get up, you can go and have a cup of coffee, you can come back and you can write the next one.
Okay.
And you can write the next one. There's a gentleman that wrote 14 in 6 days.
Yes.
He passed 13, and one of them he's disputing because he said he didn't have enough content to pass the exam.
Mhm.
So that's unheard of, really.
Yeah.
Well, that's remarkable. Caroline, I hope that answers your question there. Just the guy, she's wondering about the actual process there. And she's actually a lady that would probably be interested in doing something like this. I met her the other day here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds right. I mean, it's you did iron out the word easy there, and maybe that's where the initial sort of attack came. This can't be easy, but ultimately it's the process that is pretty straightforward here.
Yeah.
Well, it's easy to convert an ATPL to an ATPL, but you've got to write all the exams.
Yeah.
The process is a lot harder if you want to convert a commercial to an ATPL.
Right. Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
that's a different story. So we're talking about just a small aspect of it, ATPL
Yes.
to ATPL.
Okay.
And then, of course, the process is so simple. You give me a call. I know that Andras fields many, many questions as well. And we collect your data, and before you know it, you've got a contract, and before you know it, you're writing an exam. It's that simple.
And the exam, sorry, Ryan, jumping in front of you. The exam itself, I mean, you obviously monitored and things like that. I mean, it's a proper setup, and as we said, it's what you would experience if you're in Europe.
Remus, do you want to jump in with the monitoring? And
Yeah, actually, it's extremely secure connection, internet connection. At the moment the student hit enter after he complete his username and password. In a few seconds, actually in the EASA server will be generated his test. The EASA server send it to Romanian server, and through a high-tech tunnel, those subjects will arrive in South Africa on the computer. So everything it's 110% safe regarding the hacker point of view. They cannot crash the system. I can promise you that.
Okay.
And that's it. Like Kevin mentioned, you finish the exam, hit enter, you see the result. That's it. And
Yeah,
if because you mentioned at one point, it's exactly like you have the exam in Romania. There will be a few video cameras that record everything. All those recordings are safely kept in Romanian authority, and also on the device in South Africa. So if there is any legal issue or some student think that he was somehow mistreated, we can always get back to recordings, and there is 100% traceability of the entire process. On each table will be a number, so we know at any moment which candidate stay at which computer.
Okay.
So,
and maybe important to mention the live remote supervision of the CA back
yes,
from
of
Bucharest.
course, there is actually a huge monitor inside the Romanian authority, and there are at least one person overseeing the entire process, and of course the invigilator, the inspector inside the room. And also, particularly here in the venue that Kevin organized, there is another monitor that where the candidates can see themselves there. So it's very, very open, transparent, and safe.
Aren't those iPads also face recognition and voice as well, I think?
Yeah. The tablets, because we wanted to do it very easy, so the exam can be taken on tablets, and the tablets has also cameras with face recognition, and of course there is the sound recording, and but this is not mandatory. It came with the tablet, with the technology. So the authority use it. That's it. So also there is this particular fact with the tablets. They also know if the candidate will look in other part.
Okay.
But
I think we must move to Greece.
yes, technical stuff, but nothing to worry about. As Kevin early mentioned, the leak of stress for candidates, it's amazing. Even myself, I feel very comfortable in the room, and I joke with candidates, and they are very open, and the atmosphere is very relaxing. It's like a picnic turned into exam.
Yeah, you've made a few friends, haven't you?
yeah, of course. And they called me and asked me questions, and we joke, and of course they are very serious, but the atmosphere, it's absolutely great. You have to be there to see. I try to make a lot of pictures and movies. I don't know if you can show them here or not, but the atmosphere, it's amazing.
I think we uploaded some of them to the Facebook site, so those who would like to see them, most of them are out there on the Easy Pilot Facebook site.
Even those guys that actually didn't pass the exam, so you need to have 75%. There was a few guys with 74%. I mean, 74. And they were happy. I don't know why, but they were happy. So, There was one guy with 75. That was the best. Few with 76, but everyone smiles when he gets out the exam room.
Probably if somebody is still happy after failing, it has nothing to do with us. It's happy ending.
Yeah.
We still have like I don't know. I don't want to be mistaken, but around 85 or 87% the pass rate there, if I remember
Really good.
correctly.
Yeah, last time exactly.
Yeah. So
You mentioned-
it's a good percentage.
You mentioned Facebook there, Andras. Is that the best place for people maybe, initially wanting to check it out? Your Easy Pilot page there on Facebook.
Yeah, I think the best is the website because it's very straightforward. Everything is there. No hidden items. Those typical websites where they advertise something but they forget to mention the expensive part. We don't do this. So it's very, very clear, very straightforward, very honest. On the Facebook, it's all about the events, about how it went, the atmosphere, and also the improvements. They come up on Facebook at the first time. So I think both of them are really good to follow.
Okay, great. And Kev, you managed to. I mean, you've got it looks really cool in the pictures, and I know it's probably a bit like our studio is now. I mean, there's wires and everything. It's crazy here, but at least on camera, it still looks decent. But I mean, no small feat these days in finding a decent space, one that warrants writing exams. You've got to be comfortable for a long period of time. So, yeah, kudos to you there on that one as well.
Yeah, so I've got a good mate called Ryan Beaton, and he's got an office block, and he kindly offered me the space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Easy.
And I must tell you, I pick up Remus from the airport. We drop his kit. We go straight there and we start setting up.
Yeah.
And by next morning, there's magic. It works.
That's brilliant.
That's excellent.
Well, I mean,
That's amazing.
How do we do it? I don't know.
I don't know. We don't know either.
That's just one of those things that happens, I suppose, when you've got a good team of guys that are committed and know what they're doing. Things do happen. I mean,
You know that expression. It just works.
it just
Yeah.
works.
I
Absolutely.
think that's the main factor here. That's the key to find the right team. And what I realized in the past years in the previous companies that there are two type of people to work with. One of them, they always have a problem for every solution. And the other category is the opposite, where they immediately have a solution for every problem. And I think this team is the second one.
I have to admit, I mean, when I call, I've never had a negative. It's always there's got to be a solution for something, and it happens. Yeah.
Well, think about it last night. So what happened, Ryan, on the Kev, I think, sent me a message. We got a WhatsApp group with all of us here, and we decided on a time slot, but I never saw it was UTC. So I saw 15:30. Okay, no, we can do it because we're going to go live at 5. And then Kev said, Bryan, you got the time a bit wrong, yeah? So I said to Kev, do you think these guys will mind just going live? And Kev said, stand by. 30 seconds later, no, the guys are in. So it's a dynamic group of guys, and I would invest in it. Modelies has asked a question here, Kev. What is the process once all the exams have been passed? So, is there anything beyond that, or is it just a case of you've now got your?
I can answer this question.
I knew it. Andras too.
In the very likely event of all the exams are passed, you will get an certificate, an online certificate by like an email. And of course, it's electronically signed. It's perfectly legal. But if somebody wants to have this license on paper, on hard copy, it has to just to ask, and will be a transportation fee with some transportation company like DHL or TNT or whatever. and the person will get in few days, 3-4 days, the hard copy of the certificate.
But I think the question was much more about the next step after the exams. And that's also not very difficult.
And it's your area of expertise.
Yeah. If it's an ATP, we call them ATPL pilot in South Africa, you call them ATP pilots, then it's only one check ride. It's really simple. We will organize that depending on the type. Most of the clients, they have A320 or Boeing 737. So it's very easy for us. Whenever they are ready, we can schedule them for the simulator and they are ready. That's all.
And Andras, the sim check itself, I mean, I work at a simulator center here, and I know the guys often very nervous when they come into a sim center. I mean, the test itself, flight test, I mean, is it, you know, Kev, what we used to in terms of a IF type renewal ATP test? Is it a similar sort of vibe, or is it something you need to...
There are some mandatory items, but nobody ever failed in the last few years.
I don't think we haven't got enough data back from that. We haven't had enough people that have passed it, that have actually gone and done the process.
Okay.
But naturally, we are obviously hoping in time that we evolve, that we can maybe even do it in South Africa.
Yeah.
So we don't want to talk too much about that, but there's progressive things going on in the background that we're trying to make things simpler as we go.
Yeah, that's definitely going to, you know, we're not going to jump into that too much, but yeah, that's definitely something that is on the horizon there.
Yeah. A question from one of our viewers is, what is the right material to use to study and prep for the exams? Is there a question bank, an online question bank that one subscribes to, or do we go and buy 14 thick manuals? Where does a student get the study material in order to pass the exams?
Andras, you're up.
We keep following the requirements and keep changing them. Since we started the program, we already changed 1 or 2 times, maybe 2 times. And we are about to do the third modification. So there is no one specific, and I really don't recommend to anyone just to download an application and start study by themselves, because we have to know which one is the most precise. Immediately when they contact CAV, they get in the loop, and one of the items that they will get after signing up is the question bank, which is the most accurate at that time.
I think the thing to avoid there is, I mean, we know it, yeah. You can go and download something off the internet that looks all official and legitimate, but you know, a lot of this stuff is just, it's just rubbish.
I think Andras hit it on the head there. Once you've committed and you paid your money, you get a database of questions. And of course, this team that's sitting here with us is up to date. They know exactly what the industry standards and markets are, because they live in that type of area, and you go through that, you're dedicated, you're going to pass.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's cool. Look, I mean, even for me sitting here now, Ryan, it's answered a lot of the things that, you know, I had in my head. And it kind of actually makes you even feel like maybe I should be doing this. Yeah. But look, I mean, we're already 45 minutes into the show. It's actually, it's gone rather quick. The guys, just on a personal thing, I mean, going away from it a bit at the moment, we all involved in aviation. Aviation's taken a massive knock. It doesn't matter where you are around the world. There's a recovery, you know, that is going to happen. We read about it all the time, pilot shortages and things like that. Unfortunately, in South Africa, it hasn't quite come to fruition just yet. But Andras, maybe I'll just start with you. What's the sort of vibe at the moment? I mean, you know, you're in Greece there, you're in Athens. What's the feeling? I mean, is it, are you hopeful for, you know, aviation in you know, in Europe?
On the corporate side, 100% yes. There is already a huge shortage of pilots. They keep advertising and looking for new and new first officers and captains for the corporate side. But on the airline side, I think it's the same tendency, just starting now. As the summer is coming, you know, the low-cost airlines picking up. They are advertising new and new programs, job opportunities. So I see a very good tendency. The only question is what's going to happen with the COVID now. If there's going to be any other waves, any new waves of COVID, that can change everything. If not, I think there's a great chance for a big improvement in the future, in the near future.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Okay, and then to field another question there, will a candidate be able to obtain an EASA flight medical in South Africa in the near future?
So when this all came about, obviously one of the major things was medical, because we're making this thing so cheap for the guys and so convenient that now you've got to travel to Europe to go and do your medical.
Yeah.
And I remember chatting to Remus and saying to him, "Can we do it?" And he said, whoa, stand by. One thing at a time.
So does Remus do your medical as well, Kev?
Of course.
Only after the night out of the exam. So I spoke to Remus about it, and he immediately took it under his wing. And I suppose, Remus, you can elaborate a little bit further on that. But it is something that we're working on. This thing has gone from writing exams to all the possibilities branching off of it very, very quickly. Often a lot quicker than what we can handle. But we have got a gentleman like Remus and that team sitting in front of you that can actually make magic. As Andras said, it's about what we can do, not what we can't do.
Yeah.
So everything's a possibility at the moment. It's just how quickly can we do it?
Sure.
Remus, what is your opinion of that?
Yeah. Finally, after 100 years of fighting, I discovered the procedure how to solve this problem. And now, because I know, and a few other person here in Romania knows the procedure. Also, Kevin know I told him about this procedure. I think now we are on the straightforward line to solve this problem. Maybe, and that's not a promise, and you have to know this. It's not a promise, but the best case scenario is to be able to organize a first class exam in South Africa by the end of September. That's the most optimistic scenario. Mm-hmm. And for me, I think for me, actually, it's the only scenario. But we have to keep in mind that it's not everything up just to me. So I depend on other people also here in few state organization in Romania, and they have different speeds. So that's why I said let's be realistical and hope for the best. In this case, as I told you, it's end of September.
Okay.
And I hope to be very right on this. Otherwise, we'll keep trying until we succeed. It's easy as that.
Sure.
And it's easy, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Make two.
Well done, Remus. Thank you very much. I mean, from the first time that I asked you about that medical, I must have been like a little bit of a pain in your side, because that's a commman question. Yeah. When can we do the medical?
Yeah.
And it's a very, very important aspect of this whole thing. So let's see how it goes.
We just started, and in the end, we have to provide everything. This is our goal. So
probably we forgot to mention when we talked about the next steps after the ATPL that it's valid for 7 years, and it's a good advice for many of our clients that they don't need to rush. Once the exams are done, that was the painful part, the boring part. They have plenty of time to finish the procedure, to do the sim check or the flight test, the flight training for the CPL pilots. And on the other hand, they can save some money by not completing the procedure too early, because then they just have to renew the license every year. So what many of our clients are doing right now is that they finish with the ATPL theory part, they get the certificate that Remus just mentioned, and they wait. And whenever an opportunity comes up, they see a good opportunity to find a new job in Europe or any other airline, they can quickly complete the procedure within 1 week. So that's also probably a good advice for most of the pilots, not to do the whole thing in one.
And I can also give the guys a good word of advice. This is a very dynamic team in front of you. So if you want to do it, get in touch with these guys. Obviously, I will assist where I can, and the process will keep flowing on the other side of the.
They're a good network to start with, aren't
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's very sage advice coming from Andras as well, because I think knowing the typical pilot in South Africa and the bullishness of South Africans, the guys will obviously want to nab the exams, try and get everything done because they want to give themselves the best opportunity or chance at applying for a job. But you're saying it can be done relatively easily.
But Andras is a typical, he's there in Athens. There's no rush, man.
Tomorrow's
It
another
doesn't
day.
matter. You got 7 years to sort this 7 years to sort this thing out.
You have 7 years to enjoy life. And we'll see.
And as Ryan said, it's easy.
Yeah. Modely's got another question here. Which simulators in South Africa can be used for the EASA flight test? Well, obviously, us here at Simera, our ATR simulator is EASA approved. I can't mention it just yet, but we are planning on other simulators coming in very shortly, which will also be EASA approved. So, Modelies, I'll shoot you a message after the show, but definitely prospects there going forward. As it stands now, it's just our ATR that has that EASA approval. But it's all part of this one-stop shop, Kev?
Well, that's exactly it. When these guys have got their exams, I'm almost certain that this team is going to put a package together when we can do the whole thing in South Africa.
Yeah.
One-stop shop, and you walk out at the end of the day with an ATPL.
Yeah.
And as we progress, maybe there's even other prospects as far as getting the lower licenses, but we'll take that as the opportunities open. But right now, ATPL to ATPL, we'll definitely be able to give you a decent package there.
Awesome.
It's very awesome. So you got another question?
No. I'm ready to start thanking everyone for the engagement and the comments and that. But go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah. Well, before we do that and wrap up, I just want to say, listen, again, thanks from our side for joining us this afternoon and giving us all this information. Pretty sure our viewers are going to be very appreciative and thankful for opening and providing a bit more clarity on this. And
any opportunity you've just got to take. And
this is really a cool group of guys. It'd be nice to get to meet and chat with you guys the last couple of days. It's as we would say in South Africa, for the Europeans, it seems like a lacquer bunch of oaks. It's nice to be associated with you guys.
Yeah, it's a proper team. Matyas looks like the type of guy that I want organizing my stuff. Remus is the type of guy that I want to sort out any issues I have. And Andras is the type of guy that you want to be at the bar with at near midnight. So it's an ideal group. But just to go to just thank everyone that's been watching us. Nice engagement again. Brian, Marcel, the usual suspects. Yolanda, thank you. Hey, John's back. So John, you're gonna have to come on.
He's actually on his way out back to work this afternoon. I think he's watching us from the business class lounge.
Okay, next time we'll have to see him. Kakotso, Marumo again, Lesotho's Pride, evening all, and Modelies. Thanks for your comments there. Nice of you to ask that. It keeps the conversation going. So thank you, Janet, as well. And John, says, nice to see you, Kev. Glad the hard work has paid off.
Thanks, John. We'll catch up sometime.
Dave LaRue. And my father-in-law. There's the Greek surname, Andras. And, awesome. Kotso just asked there. It's the Romanian
state.
State. So that's the one. Just asking over there. There you go. But Ryan. I mean, I don't know if you want to jump in anything else there, guys. It's been a pleasure, man.
Yeah.
There is another issue we haven't mentioned yet. Is the CPL, because we talked about the ATPL, the ATP pilots, but we never mentioned the CPL. And maybe Matyas can tell, but as I know, something like 50% of our clients' inquiries, they hold CPL license.
Okay.
And the solution is almost the same as with ATPL, but they need a ground course, which we also provide. So at the end, the exams are exactly the same. The questions are exactly the same. But before they do the actual final CAA exams, they have to do a quick ground course. And at the end, when they are ready with it, they don't do simulator. They have to come to Europe and do a check right here, which is like a 2.5 hour flight on a multi-engine plane. And the result is exactly the same.
Okay. One last thing that I didn't ask you as well. Obviously, we've spoken about South Africa a lot here, but other locations. I mean, obviously, expansion is key. Other exam locations, Andras.
Yeah,
Please don't tell them.
I'm not talking about the future. Only about the past. So we already made an exam center in Dubai, and the first exam was really successful. The pass rate was not as good as in South Africa. Maybe those guys are, I don't know, they just a little more lazy than the South African pilots. But at the end of the day, many of them passed, and everything was successful. And we are really proud of that. So Dubai is the other location which we are doing right now.
Kev, you can't have the whole pie. You got to share this around. No, thanks, guys. It's been awesome. I'm glad I've made a few more aviation friends across the globe. Definitely not going to be the last time you guys join us on the show. It's been fantastic. Kev, thanks for coming into the studio.
Thanks,
braving the traffic and the load shedding, lack of traffic lights on the way back.
Yeah,
Ryan, your support.
Thanks very much. It's been great, and thanks to the guys in Europe. And we'll see you again soon.
Guys, you can.
Thank you for the warm welcome.
No, thank you, guys, and just stay on there. I'm going to end the broadcast, but you can stay on, and I will have a chat on the other side. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a lovely
Thank
weekend
you.
ahead.
And thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Goodbye for now.
Bye.